So why don't we begin then? Thank you everybody for joining this afternoon for the annual DC Audubon member meeting. My name is Chris Murray. I'm currently the president of DC Audubon. And I want to thank you for joining us. We have a couple of things on our agenda for today. First and most important is we want you, the members of DC Audubon, to hear from us about what we have been doing over the past year. And so in a few minutes, I'm going to turn things over to each of our committee chairs to give a few minute summary of their activities for the past year. And the other big item on our agenda is to elect two new board members who we have selected in the past few months, and to vote for the current board of directors. And then I would encourage you all to stick around for the kind of formal programming of today as well, which is our monthly birding forecast, where we will talk about what you can expect to find over the next month or so in DC. We are here to answer any questions that you have and to just really have a discussion about kind of what's going on out there in the world of birding as we now kind of move into kind of the heart of the fall season. But I just wanted to kind of begin by just saying a few words from my perspective as president of DC Audubon. And that is, obviously this has been a very unusual year for DC Audubon, and I know for all of you. We were just talking before the meeting started that really the last time we were able to kind of be out as we kind of always have thought of ourselves as a chapter, which is kind of out in the field with all of you, looking at birds, learning about birds, enjoying each other's company, talking about and experiencing birds, was back in March when we did our Woodcock Walk, which is an event that we have done over the past couple of years at Kenilworth Park to see the flight displays of the American woodcock, which fortunately still does breed in Washington, D.C. And, you know, that's now been 8 months since we've been out able to do the stuff that we, as members of the board and volunteers of DC Audubon, really enjoy doing. But having said that, what I want to say as the president is that I've been really heartened and proud of our chapter in terms of how we have adapted to the reality of what COVID presented to us. And that is to transition into a lot of online virtual programming like we're going to have this afternoon. We've done a series of webinars and we plan to keep doing them in the coming months. And you're going to hear a little bit later from Katie Hodge, who's the chair of our education committee, about some of that work. I just want to thank everybody who's been interested in that work and has attended these webinars and some of the other things that we've been able to do in this very challenging environment for our chapter. You know, we don't know yet when we're going to be able to return to kind of field trips and tabling and you know, invasive species removals and other types of events that we do, but we will get there. And I would hope that you would be understanding of us in terms of our willingness to start moving into those, or hesitancy to move into those until there's a little bit more certainty. But I'm certainly committed, and I know our board and our volunteers are committed to keep the work of DC Audubon going. And again, I'm just really pleased with how we've been able to do that over the last several months. What I would also say is that if there are things that you would like us to do, if there is programming you would be interested in, whether it be topics or other events that you know are happening, maybe in a virtual sense that we can contribute to or partner with, please do reach out to us. You can reach us through our email address, which is info@dcaudubonsociety.org. and let us know what you would like us to do. We are here to serve you, our members. And so whatever you might be kind of interested in, we are happy to consider and try to make it happen. Regardless of how far-fetched that may seem, I'm willing to give it a shot if we can do it. So please do reach out to us. I also just want to mention this afternoon, one of the things that we're going to be doing kind of in that regard is we're going to have a couple of poll questions we're going to throw up throughout the course of the meeting. So please give us your feedback. Some of them are just kind of fun questions, but also we just want to hear from you. And also feel free to utilize the chat function on the meeting to just kind of let us know, you know, what you're interested in from our perspective. But I just, before we get into kind of the meat of the meeting, I just want to really thank the other members of the board for their commitment to this past year, to their creativity, to their willingness to tackle these new challenges, and also really to our volunteers. We've got an amazing core of volunteers that has been growing over the past year or so. And I would also just throw a pitch out, if you are interested in volunteering, to be a member of one of our committees or to help out with any of these activities, please do reach out to us. I've been really amazed the last several years that I've been on the board, how this chapter has grown and gone from this kind of very fledgling kind of ragtag improvisational chapter to a really established part of the DC conservation community. So I just want to thank everybody who's been a part of that, either as a board member or a volunteer, or just people showing up on our walks and our events, for all of that. What that then leads me to want to do is I want to thank specifically some people on our board, and also some people who over the past year have left our board, and make sure that they are acknowledged and thanked for the work that they have done. So I first want to just mention 4 individuals who have been board members who have transitioned off the board in the past year. I know a couple of them are actually with us this afternoon. I want to mention Joel Merriman, who Joel, I see your little box, you're with us here. Joel is a former vice president of DC Audubon and was the chair of our conservation and advocacy committee, and really kickstarted and really grew that committee to what it is, really from scratch. I just, you know, Joel came onto the board just, I think, the year after I did. And I just really want to thank you, Joel, for everything that you did, and also mention that I've got a little certificate of appreciation for you here. So feel free to please reach out and let me know how I can get that to you. I also want to mention Marissa Jones, who has left our board. Marissa is a past chair of the education committee, really instrumental in helping build our intro to birdwatching class. Marissa is still in DC as an active birder, but has added motherhood to her list of responsibilities. And so I want to make sure that Marissa's accomplishments are mentioned. Also, Radha Neelakantan has left our board in the last year. She joined the Foreign Service and is now in Germany, learning all of the birds of Europe. Radha was very, very active in our education work as well, and want to make sure that she has our thanks. And finally, Kathleen Cromley, who joined the board, I think the same year that I did. Kathleen was a past secretary of DC Audubon, very active in the Diversity and Outreach Committee, and has also spearheaded some of the work in regards to some scholarships that we're going to be providing that I'll mention in a second. And so those 4 members have left us, but have not left DC birding. I look forward to still seeing all of you around. And just again, from the standpoint of the chapter, just want to thank you for all the work that you did in all the years that you were on our board. And also want to introduce everybody to 2 new board members who are joining us. And so I'm really excited with the growth of the chapter in terms of new people coming on with new ideas and new experiences to share with us and make sure that the committees and the chapter continue to grow. And I see that they're both with us. So if each of you would just like to maybe say a word or so, I want to first introduce Nika Anosike, who's going to be joining us. Comes with a wonderful background in DC environmental work. Nika, would you like to say a word or two?
Hello. Unfortunately, it seems like I'm having some issue with my camera, but I do want to say hello to everybody, and I want to thank you guys for welcoming me to be able to join your board. I served doing volunteer work at the Earth Conservation Corps, and I did a lot of environmental stewardship and led projects there, and a lot of educational activities. I then went on to work for the Department of Energy and the Environment, and I worked for a summer Greens job training program, and I now work for the agency full-time, serving in the air quality division, but I also lead our educational and outreach initiatives. Yeah, so that's just a little bit about me. I'm looking forward to being able to serve on the board in that aspect, as far as helping broadening and expanding the ways in which the Audubon Society connects to diverse populations within the district. And in light of the way our lives have changed, what it looks like now for us to be able to engage moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're happy to have you and excited to have you share all your talents and experiences and energy with us and with the community of DC Audubon.
Thank you. Look forward to working with you all.
And I also want to introduce Megan Grimaldi to everybody. Megan is also going to be joining the board. Megan, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm glad to be here. My name is Megan. I live in Northeast DC, and I work for a small consulting firm called North and Main. We do a lot of strategic planning work with our organizations. I actually started my career in education. So I was a teacher in Yuma, Arizona, completely different bird life than here. And then I moved back to the East Coast and where I went to graduate school and I studied policy and management, and then came out here to DC after school. I worked for years in an education nonprofit. A lot of what I did was auditing local affiliates. I worked at a national nonprofit and we had affiliates, and I would audit board policies and local practice. So I'm very interested in governance and policy. I also worked on our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative. So I'm excited about some of the things you guys have going on around that. And I have a 5-year-old son who's active in online school right now, but we're looking forward to all being back in person soon. So that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. Thank you, Megan. And again, happy to have you joining us. So I'm going to turn things over now to Barbara Elkis, who's the chair of our governance committee, to make sure that our new board members get formally elected, as well as the rest of the board. So Barbara, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Okay, hello everybody. Thanks all for joining. This is the important business part of the meeting. All board members serve for 2-year terms. They can re-up for 2 additional for a maximum of 6 years. So we are today reaffirming all of our board members, many of whom are on the call here today. So we're going to do another poll in a minute, which is your opportunity to vote. If you are a paid up member of the National Audubon Society, then you're automatically a member of the DC Audubon Society. If you are not, and you're just here to see what's going on, we hope you will join and stay online for the program, but please don't vote. It's not that big a deal, but we try to play by the rules, and we can't see you. We won't know who votes and who doesn't. So this is definitely on the honor system. So I need a board member to move that we approve the slate of candidates.
I move we move the slate of candidates.
Thanks, Sarah. And do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks. Okay, now whoever's in charge of the poll. There we go. So everybody who's a member, please vote whether you approve or don't approve the slate. And then we can go back and talk about the names for the football team. That interesting results we just saw in that poll. Okay, so everybody needs to vote. Okay, I'm not in charge of the results, so hopefully they're coming up that
We're
people are
halfway there, and I'll just keep an eye on it till things slow down. But
okay. Well, then I will let Katie tell us the answer. But in the meantime, I'll pass the baton back to Chris.
Great, thank you, Barbara. And I also should mention the other board members who are with us on the current board. Some of them are not with us today, but I want to make sure that everybody is identified. And you will hear from a few of them, committee chairs, in a moment. So other officers currently, Sarah Fuentes is our vice president. Sarah's with us.
Okay.
Adam Crone is our current secretary. Kari Cohen is treasurer. Kari is not with us, but is the current treasurer of DC Audubon. Also want to mention and welcome and acknowledge Andres Anchando, who you'll be hearing from in a moment. Steve Dryden, Barbara Elkis, who you just met, who's the chair of the governance committee. Katie Hodge is chair of education, and Katie you'll be hearing from in a moment as well. Tyke James is with us, also
Howdy.
a board member. Dana McCoskey. I'm not sure if Dana she's going to be trying to call in. Ryan O'Connor, Carol Stoll, and Katie Valentine. So they, along with Nika and Megan, who you just met, are your board of directors for DC Audubon for the coming year. Thank you for reaffirming our spots on the board. We really appreciate the support of the membership. I mentioned that our treasurer, Kari, is not with us, so I want to just report some of his information for the membership, and then I will turn things over to each of our committee chairs. Just a couple of things to mention on the finance side of what we do. And the main thing is to really thank everybody who has given to DC Audubon in whichever way that you have been able to financially. And I think what I'm going to mention is probably going to be also mentioned by some of our committee chairs. But a lot of what these resources have gone towards in the past year is some scholarship funding that we as a chapter have awarded. One of these scholarship initiatives is to send 2 DC area educators to National Audubon Society's Hog Island Educators Week, which is up in Maine every year. Because of COVID, they were not able to go this past year, but we are going to be sending them up next year. These 2 individuals are Emma Geiserreich and Abel Olivo, who are both very active in the DC conservation community as educators. And so your support for DC Audubon has helped fund their participation in that programming next year. And then there's another scholarship initiative that you're going to hear about in a little bit, which is the Black and Latinx Birders Scholarship that we are also contributing to as a chapter that we're really, really excited about. So I just really want to thank everybody who has given to DC Audubon because that generation has not only gone to our chapter, but it also goes to these initiatives to broaden out the work of what we do. And we're just really happy to be able to contribute to these initiatives as a chapter because of that. Just also a couple of other things that we have done with some of the resources that folks have provided. We have bought a whole new set of binoculars so that when we do get back in the field and start leading field trips again, we got a dozen new sets of binoculars that we can provide to people who come to our walks. Those go through a lot of wear and tear. And so to be able to replace those is really wonderful. We've also completely upgraded our website in the past year. And so some of those resources have been able to go to that as well. So we are in excellent financial health as a chapter. And again, that really happens because of everybody's generosity. And so Kari wanted to make sure that thanks was provided from his perspective as the treasurer. So let me turn things now over to individual committee chairs to just say a few words about what we've been doing for the past year. Barbara, from governance perspective, some things that you wanted to add? Oh, you're muted.
Again, okay, sorry. This year, we started focusing on our strategic plan and doing some updating and rethinking of that, but it sort of got slowed down because of the pandemic. We will be taking that up soon again by Zoom. And the other thing is, because we had several board members leave over the course of the year, we've spent a lot of time looking for really good board members, which I think we have found, and thank you. You all saw the results, 93% approval, so we have a new slate of board members. Thank you.
Excellent. Let's talk a little bit about our conservation and advocacy work. So Adam, I'm going to turn things over to you as the chair of that committee to say a few words about what you guys have been doing.
Chris. Yeah, so you know, we've done some good work over the past year, and we've got some exciting things coming up in the year ahead. You know, for obvious reasons, it's been a sort of different year than those that we've approached in the past. A lot of CNA's work tends to be around land use decisions that happen in the district, and a lot of those have been on hold or have been slowed down. So there hasn't really been quite as much for us to weigh in on. But one thing that, well, I guess a couple things that have just happened that are going to be big for us next year are Congress recently passed a big bill to fund backlog of National Park Service maintenance activities, which will be a big deal for sites that we care about, such as, for example, the area around the Rock Creek Nature Center and Kenilworth Park and so forth. So we've got that to look forward to. But looking back at this year, so we've reviewed and weighed in on I'll give a selection of things, but for one, we've continued to track a project. It's kind of a co-project between the National Park Service and the District Department of Transportation, which is a bridge from Kenilworth to the Arboretum. And yeah, it's, you know, we overall appreciate the idea of, you know, more accessibility for pedestrians and cyclists and so forth. But we thought there were some issues with this project, given that, you know, it didn't really look at kind of the full range of projects that are currently proposed for the Anacostia River area. And you know, the analysis they did for this was back from 2011. There are some concerning impacts to habitat and wildlife we care about. And also there just wasn't really a full range of alternatives. So we're trying to push them in the right direction to you know, make sure that they're really taking the full picture of everything into account. We submitted some comments on DOEE's proposed Anacostia River sediment project, which is basically trying to address the fact that there's a large portion of dredged sediment that's contaminated in the bottom in the riverbed of the Anacostia throughout the course of the river. So they've got a few different approaches. You know, some are more sort of intensive, some are less, and trying to like more bring in natural solutions. Our board member Ryan O'Connor and member of CNA, he drafted comments for us, and I think some of the positions we raised were supporting some of the less impactful options for the Kingman Lake area, which is basically the stretch of the river between Kingman Island and the west bank of the Anacostia. Then we recommended identifying and replacing certain segments of the seawall with living shorelines. And we recommended kind of doing like with the Arboretum Bridge project, we recommended really looking at the sort of the cumulative impacts of everything that, you know, so many things are coming forward with Anacostia over the next year. And we continued to weigh in and work with our partner groups over another bridge project. They've got like 3 bridges proposed to Kingman and Heritage Islands, which are important areas for us. And overall, our position is that, we think the East Side Bridge is good for providing accessibility to the neighborhoods over there, but we think the 2 new West Side and South bridges are just the benefits don't really outweigh the harms. So we're continuing to look in on that. And as I mentioned, everything's been a little bit slower this year, so that's been giving us more time to try to see what we can do to try to make sure they're doing the right things. Then kind of the second piece that we've been doing some good on the ground work in terms of clearing invasive species and exploring a new planting project for Kingman and Heritage Islands. And our board member, Dana McCoskey, has really taken the lead on both those efforts. And so you've probably noticed if you get our newsletter that we've had some invasive clearing projects over the past, I guess, 2 years now. And those have been in conjunction with Living Classrooms and DOEE. And we removed bush honeysuckle, Japanese knotweed, porcelain berry, and basically with the aim of sort of clearing out the areas and making room for new native plantings. So the next step is we're really now actively working to develop a new planting program where we're working with Casey Trees and some other organizations, again, including Living Classrooms and DOEE, in terms of trying to get some smaller trees and some beneficial understory plants in that area. And we've also discussed maybe trying to see what we can do in terms of improving meadow habitats for birds. Looking forward, we're also talking about doing within the next month or two, doing a socially distanced pilot planting project just with a few board members to try to see what the logistics of all this is for going forward into the next year. And we've been discussing a Members Day tree planting program with Casey Trees in the spring, provided they've got some good measures for making sure everyone's safe as far as COVID goes. And like the other committees we'll probably mention, we've also been, we've updated our strategic plan looking forward. And we've kind of made, re-emphasized the fact that Kenilworth Park and the surrounding areas are our focal area. And we've aimed to tie our work to certain focal species as well that we're currently working through the process of coming up with a board consensus on that. And we're increasing our efforts to really seek the inclusion and the input from the residents of the neighborhoods in the areas surrounding where we do our work. So we're really excited for the year ahead. Some things are kind of starting to heat up with Kenilworth, as I can mention when we get into the next segment later on. And we definitely welcome anyone who's interested in joining up with the committee or just joining any of our projects going forward.
Great. Thanks, Adam. So I'm going to turn things over now to Andre Sanchando to talk about diversity and outreach and all of the activities that they've been undertaking.
Awesome. Thanks, Grace. Oh, I'm going to share, I have a few slides to share with the group. I'm going to start sharing my screen and hopefully that works. Let me know. Can you see my presentation now? All right. So, okay, well, hi everyone. My name is Andres Sanchondo. I'm the chair of the Diversity and Outreach Committee, and I'm really excited to share with you all of our achievements so far in 2020. I just want to start by telling you what the Diversity and Outreach Committee is and what our goals are. In the Diversity and Outreach Committee, we want to promote activities that welcome everyone. People from all different races, different, or sexual orientations, political affiliations, and everything. So we want to be a really diverse chapter. During 2020, despite all the challenges, we have been achieving a lot of great things. We have been following up on activities from last year, and we have been trying and exploring new partnerships and new ways of reaching out to our members. I want to just share real quick who the members of the committee are. We have Carol Stoll, she's not here today with us, Kathleen Cromley, Katie Hodge, Katie Ballantyne, Sara Fuentes, Steve Dryden, Key James, I'm missing an E there, that's a typo. And Megan Anika will be joining our committee as soon as they become board members. I guess they are board members now, so they are part of the committee. So I want to start by sharing something that I think is really important for DC Audubon and I guess for the birding community in general in DC is that we wrote a statement on equity, diversity, and inclusion. This is something really important that we were missing. And I want to invite everyone to take a few minutes and visit our website in the diversity narrative section and take a look at this statement. I think it's really well written by our board, and we would appreciate any feedback. If you have feedback, if you have questions, if you have comments, constructive criticism, we would appreciate that. We think that this statement's gonna make DC Audubon stronger in a more diverse chapter in the country. We're really proud that DC Audubon has a really strong membership, but we want to make sure that that membership is diverse and is a reflection of what DC is. Chris briefly mentioned that we have been working on our website. In 2020, the beginning of 2020 was a great moment for that. We have a brand new website, a lot of good content, and you can visit it. It's nationalaudubonsociety.org. And we have been adding a lot of great content. We have been adding content from the education committee, content for kids. We have been also expanding the way we present the hotspots here in DC. We created this map that presents the different hotspots in the city. And we talk about the accessibility of the different hotspots, right? We have hotspots that have ramps for people that use wheelchairs. Places that have ramps for wheelchairs but don't have restrooms. In places that are good for birding but don't have ramps or restrooms. So all of that is in our website, and I would like to encourage everyone to visit it. Similarly, we translated our website. It's now available in Spanish, and we are hoping that that's going to help us do a lot of outreach to Spanish speakers in DC. I think this is a great opportunity. Not many chapters have this available. So it was a great investment by the chapter, both financially and time-wise with the time that we spend on this. So we have been exploring new partnerships. Katie Hodge and I explore this opportunity to partner with Friends of Oxon Run Park. This is a park in Southeast DC, and we're exploring ways to work with them. They're really excited about the Christmas bird count. They're excited about restoration activities. They are excited about potential field trips once we go back to that. We're also working with the district Department of Transportation. We're gonna be having a pop-up arboretum. So we're gonna have some signs. You can see here an example, both in English and Spanish, that we're gonna be placing in different parks in the city. We're gonna start this as a pilot in actually Knudsen Run Park. We also were reached out by a new NGO that works with Latino communities in the DMV area. They're called Defensores de la Cuenca, Watershed Defenders. They have a radio show, and I was interviewed last week, so that will be available next week with me talking about DC Audubon and the work with you. So some of us have been participating in attending different events. Taiki James was part of the Black Birders Week. He's one of the founding members of Black Birders Week. I was also invited to be part of the Naturally Latino Conference next month. Well, actually in December, where I'm going to be talking about the great work that we do in DC Audubon and reaching out to different communities. Finally, I want to share this opportunity. Taiki and I are working on this great effort from different fellow birders in the DMV area. It's the Black and Latinx Birders Scholarship Fund. This is a scholarship that's going to support Black and Latinx college students financially. And we have been working on this for the past few months. And I'm really proud to share with you that DC Audubon is an official sponsor of this scholarship fund. And lastly, I have really exciting news. I'm gonna be, after 2 years as the committee chair, I'm gonna be passing the baton to 2 new co-chairs. We're gonna have Carol Stoll. She's not here with us today, but she has been a board member for, I believe, 4 years. And Nika is joining the board this year, and both of them are gonna be co-chairing the committee. And I'm sure they're gonna be doing a great job advancing our goals in our statement. And lastly, I wanna share with you this other great news that Katie Valentine's gonna be chairing the brand new communications committee. And with that, we're hoping to improve the way we communicate with our members and with new people, and the way we use all of our communication channels. I'm pretty sure that 2021 is going to be a real exciting year for diversity, marriage, and now communications. And if you have any feedback, if you would like to volunteer with the committee, let me know, or let Carol and Nika know, and we would be happy to have you and hear from you. And yeah, that's what I have to share from diversity and marriage.
Right. Thank you so much, Andres. And thank you for all the work you and the committee have been doing. This is amazing stuff that we've kind of really grown on in the last year plus. So thank you for all of that. I want to now turn things over to Katie Hodge, who's the chair of our education committee, to talk about what those folks have been doing for the past year and what is on the horizon.
Sure. Well, we started the year with a few field trips. We had our monthly walks for January and February, and we had been able to have our first extra-liminal, so out of the DC boundaries, field trip to Blackwater National Wildlife Reserve, Refuge rather, which was a really great trip, and looking forward to doing it again. We were able to have 2 of our annual woodcock walks. If you haven't been on that with us, it's Kenilworth Park. It's really special because we need to arrange permission with the National Park Service to go and see them do their display, which also doesn't happen in that many places in DC or in general anymore. So we're able to do those. Hopefully we'll be able to do that next March. And if we do, be sure to RSVP, because for the same reasons that we have to have those restrictions, you know, we have to, COVID or no COVID, there's only so many people who can come. So when that happened, we pivoted to webinars, and we had a great series in the summer, a presentation on turkey vultures, bird-friendly gardens, about the Breeding Bird Atlas, and a panel with longtime DC birders. And you can find those on the new YouTube channel that we stood up. We also started the birding forecast series. It was started in July. Haven't gotten that one up on the YouTube channel, but that's coming, learning curves. And then the other thing we did was our popular birding 101 class. We were able to do that through a webinar, and that material is also on our YouTube channel. So if you're a newer birder, please do check that out. And for the future, what we're looking on is we have a committee formed now to work on what the classes would be after birding 101, what would be a 201. As we've grown and we're attracting more experienced birders to the chapter, how can we really serve those needs? Which is also something we're thinking about in terms of our walks. As we grow and have more capacity to do different things, then How can we retain the inclusive, warm feeling when we've been able to go out on our large group walks, but maybe we've overgrown some sites, and maybe we can add some things that are more family friendly, or thinking about accessibility, or getting to different parts of the city. So we'll have some groups forming up to work on figuring out, how can we get back in the field safely and properly in the times of COVID, but also as we revamp these efforts, how can we meet those different areas? And then the other thing we're doing is kind of looking at programming and overlapping with what diversity and outreach is doing, and the Conservation Advocacy Committee. We are working on programming and getting started with programming with Friends of Oxen Run Park, and also growing a relationship with Friends of Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens. So not completely sure what that's going to look like next year, but that's where we're going.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Katie. And I'll just put another plug in for what we'll be transitioning to in a moment here, which is the monthly birding forecast series. Has been a really wonderful addition. And Danny Sloan, who's one of our volunteers, has been directing and leading that, and you'll hear from Danny in a moment. So again, as we kind of finish up the kind of yearly update from the chapter, again, I want to thank all of our board members, all of our volunteers, everybody who has participated in any event or initiative that we've undertaken in the past year. And again, just encourage you to continue to share your excitement and ideas and thoughts with us. My hope is that the next year is going to be a little bit more of what we're used to as a chapter. Hopefully we'll be out in the field at some point and leading walks and tabling events and visiting schools and all the other things that we have done. But we don't know for sure what that's going to look like, but rest assured that we will continue the efforts of this chapter to be a leading conservation organization in the city and in the area, and also I would say nationally. Sara Fuentes, who's our VP, sits on the board of National Audubon, and so she interacts with a bunch of different chapters. And not to put you on the spot, Sara, but would you like to kind of say a word or so from the national perspective as well?
Sure, of course. I am as Chris said, on the national board. It is an elected position. I represent Atlantic Flyway South, so from Delaware down to Florida. On the committee, you get to interact with, a lot of the CEO of Audubon, a lot of staff. You get to learn a lot about what other chapters are doing around the country, and bring a lot of new ideas back home to us as well. And share what the good stuff that we're doing here with other chapters has also been a real benefit. On the national board, I'm on the marketing committee and the nomination and governance committee, where I'm a co-chair with astronaut Kathy Sullivan, which is pretty cool. And just recently became co-chair of a new equity, diversity, and inclusion task force that we're doing. So hopefully with those two roles, we'll really be able to help shape National Audubon Society overall. So that way we're also putting into practice good EDI practices that can benefit National Audubon Society members all over the country.
Thanks, Sara. Yeah, and just with Sara's participation on the national board, that is a real honor for us as a chapter. There are many chapters all across the country. Very few of them have the representation of one of their members and leaders on the national board. So we're really happy to have Sara there, kind of telling our story to the folks nationally, and as she mentioned, giving us the opportunity to share what we do and also learn from what other wonderful chapters are doing. So I think that kind of wraps up the formal program for this part of today's meeting. Again, if there's anything that you would like to share with us, please do so either via email or through the chat box that we've got up at today's meeting. At this point, I'd like to turn things over to Danny Sloan, who's going to now lead our discussion of what we can expect out there in the field in the coming weeks for our November birding forecast.